plants in this fire ring are doing great. I think they're Okinawan spinach, some basil, some Cuban oregano, some green onions, fennel, and pineapple sage. See, the new ones are doing fantastic. For some reason, the huge plant didn't do too hot. I hope it survives, the mother plant. So this Korean or African basil's doing really good. It's been losing its leaves. The leaves get yellow and then they just fall off. They're really sensitive to the temperature, and it's been falling off. But for some reason, these are still hanging on, thank goodness. So it rained recently, and I just go around looking for any type of containers to catch some of the rain, and then I'll just reuse that water instead of having it go in areas I don't want it. I can pour it into my plants. So let's take a look at some of the transformations in the garden here. So the chickens used to be over here in this really ugly spot right here, and we moved them over to here where we used to have the wooden garden beds, and we pulled those up. We pulled up the watermelon, we pulled up several plants, and this location, before we put everything there and grew things there, it used to have a fruitless mulberry tree that had lots of ivy growing over it. It was really annoying. It was a harbinger for lots of pests, so like possums and things. And so we had it chopped down, and then they had to shred the wood chips or whatnot, but for some reason they couldn't give us that batch of wood for some reason. I'm not really sure. I can't remember why, but they said they had a huge amount of wood chips, still a truck full on their property, and so they brought us the wood chips that they already had. So it had broken down already for at least a few days, and so it was completely bare here from taking down that tree, and we had lots of cardboard, so we laid it all down really thickly, and then we put the wood chips on top, and then we put the garden beds on top of that, and we grew with soil in the garden beds on top of the pile of wood chips and cardboard. And in just about a year and a half, it broke down to really, really nice soil, like gorgeous soil. It probably doesn't have all the nutrients, but it was fine, and so I bagged them over here because they were pretty nice soil. I mean, look at that, all this here, right there. It broke down really nicely. So I bagged 7 bags of soil, and I'll tell you the reason for it. So here, now that we're not in the glare of everything, this is where the chicken coop used to be, and it was full of feathers and all kinds of stuff because the chickens were molting, and they were right here along this lane. And so since we had gotten this whole area bare, I moved some fruit trees that were potted and everything, moved them all out, and it's this whole entire bare spot right here. So what we decided to do, it's from my own mind child, I decided to ask my husband to get me 5 T-posts, and so we have it in this arrangement, and I'll show you when I get pen and paper how I designed it in my head. So I got 5 T-posts, so there's a second one, and it would be 4 corners plus 1 T-post over here that's not fully to the very end of the corner. So that will be our doorway. And so, yes, it recently rained for about a day and a half, but we didn't get, I would say we got about 500 gallons of water. So that was good that we harvested. The rest went straight in the ground. So it's still kind of moist. That's why it's darker over here. So we put up the T-post. We already had this this wire fencing type of material. So now the next step is to cover all of this area with a huge thick layer of cardboard to suppress the weeds, because I'm telling you, this area is chock full of weeds. Let's look over there. It's full of weeds underneath, and we pulled out some, but they're very aggressive. So like over here, it's very, very aggressive weeds. So we're gonna put a thick layer down, just like we did last time with that other section over there. And I think we're gonna need some out here too, so that it doesn't grow into our area. So that's a problem right now, is getting enough cardboard. We had a few pieces here, and then so let me show you a great place to get cardboard is Costco. They have this cardboard that's thicker, and it really is corrugated. And then they have this other kind that is like a paper, like construction paper. So we got several sheets, 2 trips so far, and then we have just random. That's from Costco milk, the 2 jugs in a box. So we're just trying to gather as much cardboard as possible, cover up all these holes. You have to have them overlapping to suppress the weeds. So we really need like a second, maybe even a third layer. I'm obsessed, guys, because the more cardboard you have, the less chance you have all these weeds growing through, which is a headache to get rid of. And so we're gonna do that. Then we're gonna lay some garden beds down. So I have the 2 wooden garden beds that were square that I had the tomatoes in that I pulled out. So those are gonna go maybe over there. And then over here I already put the fire ring down. I pulled it out from one of my beds, and this is gonna be this fire ring is going to be filled with garlic. I don't think the onions will make it. I bought the onions clearance, and I held them for a few months indoors, and it got hot, and they shriveled up into nothing. I mean, all there was that papery outside. 60 bulbs that were just not even bulbs, they were just skin. So some garlic and shallots. So I think I'm hopeful for 1 clove of garlic or 2, and then the shallots seem to hold up pretty well. So I'm hoping for shallots, which I love the flavor of. It's like a cross between a garlic and onion. So let's see, the tag for this welded wire utility fence. We got that from Lowe's. 14 gauge, is it? Not sure. And that's the diameter, or the length, and all that stuff. Anyway, so we made it all the way around as a square or a rectangle, and then we have this right here. You see that T-post right there, along with this T-post. That's going to be, this area is going to be the door. So we ran out of room for the gate, that fencing, so we need to make a gate right here that will swing open and closed. I'm just putting this bed frame here and that cage to try to keep things out, because I don't want things going in there. I mean, it's not impenetrable, because they can walk right under there. But it's just a barrier. Like in the night when they bump into it, it might hinder them from going in there. So I just don't want them digging up my garden bed until I have a fence. My husband always thinks that I have cockamamie ideas, and it may be so. And I mean, he says like critters can just climb this, and if it was mice or something, it can go through the holes here. They're quite large, and I understand that, but it's still some kind of barrier, and that's what I want. I want to make it not easy. I want it to be a deterrent. Over here I have my Tulsi. It's doing really good so far. And then I have some Korean basil that I tried to propagate here. Hopefully it took. Some basil that is going the wayside. It looks like it's suffering. It's turning yellow. And a zinnia I propagated. That tomato's dying. I was gonna kind of wrap this whole entire garden bed with plastic, but I haven't gone around to it. After the great move, there's a little porch for the coop. After the big move, and then there was rain just in time, and we bought 4 bags of sand to put in here in the chicken coop. It's hard to see. Just so that when they poop in it, it'd be easier to clean, but I think we would have had to buy much more than just 4 bags. But I hope it helped to drain the water out of there. They did not like their feet wet. They all crawled into their chicken run immediately to get warm, even though it was still daylight out. So here is a stone fruit tree that we pulled out of the ground in order to put the chicken coop and run where it is. And another stone fruit tree that we stuck into the pot. So so this will be my kitchen garden, potager garden. So here we enter the food forest. And I have quite a few things still surviving. I'm not sure what that's called. The yarrow is suffering. And then over here, I think it's hyssop. I'm not 100% sure what I grew here. But because it's a cluster of the same type of plant, I know it's something I planted in there. And then I have snap peas growing in a row, but they're taking forever to grow. I mean, they've been these 3-4 inches forever. My mums are blooming. I love that. I really love this color. It gets really tall though. Look at how tall it is. It's kind of bent over. And here is my society garlic. I might have to split it in the spring. And then those are the vegetables I grew. So there's some dill at the end. That's an herb. And then I have some Swiss chard. See the red stemmed thing there? Some Swiss chard, rhubarb chard, tatsoi, bok choy, all under this netting because I don't want critters to get in there, and actually the ones that didn't get covered are doing a lot better, it looks like. Well, this one's massive. Yeah, actually it's doing great. I love it. Gonna harvest it soon. I love the texture of that vegetable in soups and to eat fresh, and I haven't tried stir frying it because it's like the leaves are quite tender and then there's a little crunch to the thicker stuff. I haven't been out here because it's gotten quite cold and because of the couple days of rain. And let's see. It looks like I was gonna have like a huge massive harvest of the pineapple guava, and I had many fruit on here, and in fact a few had dropped, but I believe that they're all gone, and I think something might have eaten them because I don't see any pineapple guava on here at all. So I think something munched away at it, and I couldn't harvest it because it was not yet ripe. The fruit were still hard. From what I've seen, it has to like soften up, and the inside's got like a greenish jelly colored soft appearance, and I know I have a inkling of what it might taste like when it's fully ripe, but I would never know because something ate everything. That is so frustrating. That is very frustrating. That means that I had a ton of fruit on here and I did not get a single bite of a fresh, ripe fruit, and they're all gone. I think it's the squirrels that come around here. I'm not sure what else could climb up there and get all the taller branches, the fruit off of them. And I believe down there the bright green are the new leaves. But I don't see a single fruit in here. I'm so frustrated. I did get to harvest some that fell off of here, but they were still hard. So, if that's going to be the case, like year after year, where the fruits don't get to ripen for me to eat, I know that the blossoms are edible, so I might just make it a habit to just eat the fruit, eat the blossoms, and never let it ripen to fruit if that keeps being a huge problem where the critters eat my crops. And my lychee is doing beautiful. It's nice and green. I was so afraid of that one dying, but it's doing really good. And at the base of it I grew some mums, really cute. And I grew some mums here. I propagated it. And my calla lily is doing great. And that one is, oh boy, I think it's a Gerber daisy or Asiatic lily, something like that. Here's Gerber daisy. My variegated society garlic, for some reason, never does as well as the green society garlic. I mean, it's stayed this tiny little patch. In fact, I think it's receding. I don't know if that's the word, but it's getting smaller. It's shrinking. And oh my goodness, I never thought that I could grow papaya to this tall. Now it is about 4 feet tall. And it's kind of protected over there, and that's what it likes. It's like an understory. It likes to be protected by other plants or by some kind of wall. So it's doing really good. I hope that next year one of them will give me fruit. And I gotta harvest these goji berry leaves and dehydrate them because I really want to have tea with using the leaves. And I have this dahlia that I need to deadhead and maybe bring it under the covers or something like that. Some roses, a different colored mum, smaller mums. Here are my perennial plants, and I kind of put these pots outside of it to kind of keep it warm. And let's see, my rosemary is doing fantastic. It smells so good. I just run my hands through it. At some point I'm going to have to propagate this because oh my gosh, I love the smell. In Asian cooking I don't have very many recipes for it, My husband doesn't like Jerusalem artichoke, which is, what's the other name for it? Oh. Anyway, he doesn't like it because he doesn't like the aftertaste. And so I pulled it out of the ground, and I've been trying to not grow it, but I kind of have regrets because I should grow it for myself. And then I could cook it with rosemary and garlic. So in this garden bed, I placed some China rose radish seeds in here, and I think I made a mistake before the rains. I forgot to water it a couple days, and it had started sprouting like quite quickly, some tops, some greens, and now they're just completely gone. That's sad. That's my second set of radish, and I heard they're really easy to grow, and when I didn't care for them that much, they grew, and when I care for them, they don't grow. So anyway, my bird chili is doing good. My bird chili is doing well, perhaps. So over here, I was trying to have my sweet potatoes take root, and I had a tomato plant in there, and also a passion fruit vine. I was trying to get them to root, and the tomato did really well, but then it started to shrivel away because I never put it into the ground. Anyway, I just keep adding viney things in here to try to root them. And I probably should have taken them under a shelter or whatnot, but I just put it here, and look, there's signs of predation. Something was eating up and tearing up the sweet potato leaves. How annoying. There's always some kind of wildlife to thwart my advances and my growing and my success and my harvests. I mean, that pineapple, guava, and now seeing those leaves being destroyed, it's really frustrating. So over here, I didn't know where to put permanently in the ground my sugar canes, so I stuck the canes in here, and they're doing great. There's 4 shoots. However, this one's not doing too great, and something pulled up that shoot right there. That's really annoying because it was fully covered, and there I have the plant there. So unfortunately, I may have killed one of my fruit trees. I'm not sure, putting overly strong fertilizer into the pot. So this here is the I think they call it like strawberry tree or something like that. So it didn't do too hot, but I moved a citrus tree over here, and it kind of fell over onto that. So I gotta fix that in a little bit, but I'm kind of keeping them together to keep them from getting too cold. My mango tree is doing great. My blend mango. It had some flowers at the top this past year, but either the birds got to them or they just could not make fruit this year. But so long as the tree is alive, I am happy. I'm gonna have to pick out this winter places for my potted trees, fruit trees to go, because I had done that last year where I stuck a lot of my plants in the ground. So this winter I'm going to selectively choose where things will go, and I just cluster potted plants with plants that are in the ground to keep everything kind of warm, protect everything. So here's a bunch of plants that are in pots that I moved from next to the chicken coop to over here. just lots of plants. There's the moon. It's looking really pretty. We just had a lunar eclipse a few nights ago. So I love it. I love staring at the moon. So yes, I have lots and lots of plants in this section, and I'm trying to maintain some kind of path while having lots of plants in the same location, only for the winter, because they do need to aerate or else they get diseased. So for now, a lot of these plants are clustered together just to keep them warm and alive. And I'm in Southern California. I don't know. There are years where it's excessively cold, and I heard that this is going to be a really cold winter. So I don't know. I mean, it seems silly because a lot of the times our worries are drought, dry stuff, and heat, like overly hot temperatures. So we'll see how it goes. A lot of my citrus plants, they're alive, and some of them flowered greatly, and then they didn't produce fruit, like this tree here. Let's see. The tag fell off of this. So the only way to know what it is from watching prior videos or whatnot. But I think this was a Cara orange. It never made me fruit. It could be the way that I was watering it overhead with the hose and I knocked off the flowers. So, but my kaffir lime is doing great. Look at these giant limes on here. You could take the zest and use it, and there's probably a couple drops of lime juice in there. But in Asian cooking, you use the leaves, kind of how you use bay leaves. You cook it with your curries and whatnot, and it adds a fragrance. So that's a good tree. It's growing well. I'm doing really well with my citrus trees, so that makes me happy. This year I would have had a guava fruit. This is the exotic pink guava. However, it really suffered. It's really a sensitive tree. So it dried out really quickly, and I would water it like every day. I don't know if it just likes to have a lot of water. I don't really fully understand it. So it started to make the fruit, but then even the fruit shriveled up. Like it needed an exorbitant amount of water. I don't know. And let's see. I grew, hold on. Look at these lovely mums. I'm just gonna grow a lot of mums in my garden because it wards off lots of pests. But also I love that when everything is dying, this is like blooming and it looks really pretty. And I love how it has the yellow center with the green center and then the pink flowers. I just love it so much. Look, it's all over here where I propagated it. So this over here is where I had some of my other perennial plants that I purchased from Bluestone Perennials. I hope they survive because they were little babies, and look at that dried up carcass there. That's some kind of perennial plant. I hope it comes back next year. Ugh, I think it was a coreopsis. Oh gosh. It frightens me that I spent all that money on those plants if they don't come back next year. It actually really upsets me if it does not come back because it's a perennial after all. So I'm gonna take care of this soon. But it might be dying. So I have my Malabar spinach growing onto my Bartlett pear tree, and my Bartlett pear tree, It's kind of an older tree. I put it in the ground last year. It gave me 2 fruit this year. But I don't want it to... Well, hopefully the Malabar spinach is just kind of insulating the plant, the tree, because it still has leaves from the pear tree. So that's good, because it also loses its leaves in the winter. So some of them are turning yellow and falling off. And same with the apricot tree. It is, all those leaves are from the apricot tree. The leaves yellow and they fall off. And then in the spring it starts making new leaves again. And here's a pomegranate treeling. So that makes sense that its leaves are turning yellow and falling off. Recently I gave a Subal sapote to my mom because I bought 2 thinking that they needed to cross with one another, cross-pollinate, and when I read the label it said it didn't need to. So I gave her one, which she really wanted. She has a white fleshed sapote, and I said that from what I read, that the Subal, the yellow ones, taste better. So I gave her one, and I have one. And what in the world is fruiting over here? What is this? What is this? Huh. Oh, that's weird. My Subal sapote is making either little blooms for fruit, or it is making new leaves. I'm not sure. This is the season when it's supposed to die off. Or like not die off, but just go dormant. That's a better word for it. Go dormant. Look at all these flowers and leaves for the Malabar spinach. I'm gonna have to make another salad out of it. One last go. Some lemongrass. I know lemongrass is sensitive to the cold. And it's kind of weird because if I leave it like this, it survives the winter. So last year I culled 2 lemongrass that were like this huge. I cut them down nearly to the ground, and I harvested the usable parts, and thinking that they would come back, and this spring it never came back. I mean, it barely came back. So that is the remnant of that lemongrass, of one of them. And the other one, I think it never came up. That's all that came up. One stalk. So I don't know if it died because it was so cold last year. Because, but thank goodness at the time, last year I had like 10 plants. So it's not like I lost anything. I mean, I did lose 2 plants, or mostly 2 plants. But I still have others. But it's just kind of unusual. I don't really know because you're supposed to harvest them so that you can use the parts, and then it's gonna regrow. But for some reason it didn't do very well growing back in the summer and the spring. So I'm not sure, because that location's really shady and it likes sun. So I'm not sure. I'm kind of going around weeding things as well. Ooh. So this is stevia, and the whole stalk is dying, but down here it's growing something. I'm hoping it's still growing the plant, but I don't know if it likes to be cold, if it will survive the winter. I have no idea. But I'm just kind of trying to protect everything by crowding them together. I know it's going to get a lot colder than what it is right now. The nights are in the 40s and the days are in the 60s, It really got really cold after this last rain. And for me, that is cold. I know other people have temperatures that go down, dip into the negatives, and that's unfortunate. I mean, I'm sure it's nice if you love snow and stuff like that to live in those wintry areas, or if you don't have a choice. But I would absolutely be suffering if I lived in those really cold climate areas. So I'm just going around weeding things and checking out plants that I haven't seen in days. This fig tree is making figs still. Oh, I love figs. So I have these that were in a pot, these papaya, and I just took them out of the pot and transplanted into the ground. But I do have some kind of pest, like I said, that keeps going around digging things. So here's a hole. I don't know if you can see it. Another one here. And I just chop and dropped my ginger leaves and canna in the pathways, and it still digs around them. It's really annoying. But what do I do? Just try my best to maintain what I have and keep everything alive. That's just what I do. Over here I have another ginger plant. I probably should try to harvest what's under there, but I might just wait till next year. I need to get my husband's help to pull out. I tried once to pull out the roots, but not strong enough to pull it up and out. So I just kind of like kick the dirt back in, and so you can see a root ball down there. So who knows how much ginger I'm gonna get. But I just want to plant just to have it anyway, in case anything ever happens. I'll have this plant or that plant. Here's my third society garlic, doing pretty well. Butted up against what I think is a kumquat tree that I grew from seed. Have not seen anything yet, and it's staying quite dwarf and small. And I hope I didn't make a mistake of planting something wrong. Okay, the citronella plant is doing really good. And I have another one. I always have spares of things. Here's my rose. Oh, it's gonna make a beautiful flower soon, hopefully. And guys, I don't know. I bought this grape that's from Taiwan, and it tasted really good, like lychee almost. And I took the seeds and I popped it into the ground, and they keep growing some leaves that look like this, and I think it's gonna be like a grape. But it has a very upright, not very viney growth habit. And last 2 years ago I grew something like that, and it grew really tall. And then when I used this app to identify the plant, it said that it was a mulberry. And with me, I don't like fruitless mulberries or anything that's like aggressive growing and doesn't guarantee me a fruit. So I killed that one, and I threw the seed back into the pot, and it grew the same exact thing. So I don't know whether to keep it alive or kill it. And here are some yellow mums that the blossoms died off. Ooh, the chives are doing really good. It's so hard to grow things in the allium family to me. I don't know. But this is the first time I ever successfully grew chives, because this year I'm trying to grow chives and they're not coming up. It's very frustrating. This is a milkweed. I think it is the yellow variety. This pineapple did great. It was growing really well. It's starting to yellow though. Just grew that from a pineapple top that I bought from the store. So that's what's happening in the food forest, and what's gonna be happening with my potager garden. So with that, I bid you farewell. Have a great day. See you in the next one.